Hey, folks. I am a couple of minutes late. Apologies for that. Um, I just barely got back from the movies, and I have given up trying to fix my setup because the program that I use to like adjust focus and everything else on here is like just messed up. I just like the program it'll open and the icon will show up, but it won't actually open. And I've tried doing a restart on the computer already, so I don't know what the hell's going on with that. So apologies that this is going to be stuck in autofocus and probably trying to calibrate itself the entire time. I'm sorry. I don't know why. I'm annoyed. Happy birthday, Rowan. But anyways, if you can see by the topic that I put up, I would like to just talk and I think it's fitting given that I did the Shining movie. I'd like to talk scary or otherwise seasonal movies. We will not be discussing politics. I know we're nearing an election. I don't have the spoons. I just don't. So there will be none of that. Got a funeral to read at tomorrow. I'm sorry to hear that, Jason. Thanks for another politics is verboten night. Yeah, like under normal circumstances, I don't mind dipping into those kinds of topics intermittently, but like I know that in a situation and a time like this, it is liable to be a very dominant thing. Like it's just gonna be the whole stream, and I don't wanna. I just do not want to. Sorry, I'm kind of in the background. I'm just like checking one other thing if I can figure out why the hell this damned program is completely screwed up. And I don't know why. That's going to piss me off. Okay. Wait, what? What is that? Oh, bet you it needs an update. Sorry. Just trying to. There, let me try that. Reminder, while I will do what I can to keep up with the chat, the only thing that will guarantee that I see and reply to comments, questions, etc., will be to do it as a super chat, which also gets you the little gay heart of appreciation from me. Why is this all crap and garbage? Why is everything trash now? Anybody know? Because I don't. Fuck's sake. I try to keep myself from swearing. I know I'm allowed. It's my stream. But like at the same time, I would rather not. So this is all just pain in my ass. All right, I got to stop futzing around with this. I'm not going to get it sorted. How did my show go this weekend? The show that I hosted on Saturday, it went very well. I did 2 numbers and I hosted. That was in Rutland. That was a good time. It was mostly drag queens. Well, drag queens and kings. So it was a mix, but it was mostly a drag show, but I still had a lot of fun. They seemed to like me there, so it worked out well. People hardly ever wish me a happy birthday 364 days a year. I never hear it. I see what you did there. 255. Have you read any other of Mary Shelley's books? You mean aside from Frankenstein? No, I have not. Speaking of horror, you're enjoying Uzumaki? I haven't watched it past the first episode. I did a video on the break room of Geeks, discussing some of the things that I think were inherent failings of the very idea of doing it at all. And since I've heard that apparently the animation quality nosedives in the later episodes, I have not circled back onto it. I'm here, I'm queer, get over it. I think I was already pretty accepting of that fact, Meg. I think you're well aware. Good to see you. When streamers I follow have sound or camera issues, I often don't mention it because just putting up with it is less annoying than watching them try to fix it. Fair enough. Fair enough. Never been to a drag show. Almost was invited to one in college, but I was way too insecure back then. I mean, at this point especially, like, depending on how long ago college was for you, I don't know, and I'm not presuming and I'm not guessing, but if it was like any time around when I was in college, yeah, certainly at the time, going to a drag show certainly had certain implications about you if you're even attending. I really don't think that's the case anymore. Like, just speaking as someone who performs in drag and burlesque shows, real mix of clientele. I met you in your video about Angel Dust and I love it. It really opened my eyes about pro sex work. Have you ever watched Hell of a Boss? It's really good too. I have seen Hell of a Boss. I don't think I've done any videos on it. Hell of a Boss, unless you're going to do episode by episode, Hell of a Boss is kind of an awkward thing to try and talk about just because of how sporadic the release schedule is. Maybe when the next episode comes out, I'll do a video on that. But yeah, no, I haven't done one up to this point just because, like, what do you even make it on? Do you make one on every episode? I don't have the time for that. Do you do it by season? Well, in that case, season 2 isn't technically over yet. You know, it gets weird talking about that show. I'm going to recommend Threads, the 1984 BBC film, which imagines what a nuclear strike in the UK would be like. Scariest, bleakest film I've ever seen. Ooh. Yeah, when it comes to nuclear apocalypse, bleak can really be the thing. Although I think, like, along those lines, about the bleakest thing that, like, it was actually a short story. If I can, hold on, let me see if I can pull this up. I remember who wrote it. Hang on. I'm afraid I'm gonna get the title of the story wrong. Yeah. And now here I am looking things up. I'm sure that's fun. There it is. There Will Come Soft Rains. That was the one. Ray Bradbury. I couldn't remember if it was Bradbury or Richard Matheson. It was Bradbury. There Will Come Soft Rains. You want to talk about bleak? That frickin' thing. Oh. Yeesh. 1994 to 1999. Oh, you were in college even longer ago than I was. Meg being sarcastic? No, that doesn't track at all. If The Shining kept the title but totally omitted the actual element of the story, think anyone would have cared? I mean, yeah, it would have angered the book fans more than the movie already does. If you're talking about the experience of watching the film without being a book fan, it probably just would have left people scratching their head going, why the heck was it called that? But I was asking that anyway, so probably wouldn't have made a huge difference either way. Got 2 traffic tickets. My dog has so much anxiety she pooped in the front seat. Oh no! Oh my gosh, Meg. Oh. Oh, my love to Coco too. Oh my goodness. Let's see. On the subject of sex work, sure, why not? Have you seen the BBC show Alma's Not Normal? Just watching it now, it's superb. I have not. I haven't even heard of that one, actually. I am unfamiliar. Alma's Not Normal. British sitcom. How she tries fabulous. Doesn't really look like my kind of thing. I mean, like, I'm not debating whether or not it's good. I'm just reading the description, and my gut instinct is, nah, that doesn't sound like it's something for me. Might still be very good. I have no clue. And I'm not sure to what extent sex work factors in. I didn't get far enough in the description of it. About 60 horror films I've not seen yet on a watch list. Jacob's Ladder is up next. I haven't seen that one yet either, come to think of it. I don't know if it should count as a horror movie. Well, horror aesthetic, maybe. The movie I just got back from was Beetlejuice. That thing's a mess. Like, I'm not mad I saw it, but that movie's kind of a disaster. But yeah, not in a nobody should have made this way, but just in a okay kind of way. I got a YouTuber to react to When the Wind Blows, telling them it's the same person as the snowman. My second choice was Threads, I Am Evil. I will take your word for that. I also can't remember if you mentioned, but is the groundskeeper a magical black person? I mean, as far as the trope of that kind of character goes, yeah, he's one of the quintessential examples of that trope. So yeah, I did not get into it in my review just because I did not feel properly qualified to delve into that topic, and giving it a token mention felt, I don't know, cheap. So I just moved on from it. I can't remember. Have you read much Stephen King? I have not read any Stephen King. Not a single one. I mentioned this in the Shining video. I've tried to read a couple Stephen King. I honestly don't know what it is. I don't get on with his writing style. Like, I just bounce off it. I've tried. It's not his ideas. I've liked enough movies that have been adapted from his work. And I'm like, I clearly like his ideas and his concepts. I don't know what it is. It's something about his writing style doesn't gel with me. And no, I've never read any of his stuff. I'll survive. Just love a small break from the stress. I hope for that for you, Meg. I really, really do. My hat's off to you that you made it through the entire Shining. I never made it past the first 20 minutes. You know, one of the weirder things, and the thing is, when multiple people commented this, either on Twitter or in the comments on the video, and I don't know if they're offering this as a sincere defense or not. But I had multiple people be like, oh, try watching it as a dark comedy. I'm like, but it's not, though. Like, maybe it's better as a dark comedy. Yes, and if I got it on DVD, maybe it'll function better as a Frisbee than a movie. Like, what? I don't know. Supreme Omega, thank you very much for the super chat. Is it easier to separate the art from the artist if said problematic artist is dead, such as Lovecraft, so they can't profit from their work? Well, I mean, so I'll try not to go too far down this rabbit hole. Short version is, in my mind, you can't separate the art from the artist from the art. Like, you can't, whether they're dead or not. Now, the conversation is different if they are dead, because if they are not, if they are still around and you are potentially financially benefiting from them, then there is an active conversation to be had. Are you contributing to their ability to do harm or spread harmful ideas? And if they're dead, that's not a question. I still say you can't separate the art from the artist, partially out of respect for the art. People talk about that like that's how we should view art and it's a more respectful way. No, that's an inherently disrespectful way to view any piece of art, because then you're acting like it just fell fully formed out of the ether, as opposed to being the culmination of a human being's thoughts and ideas and experiences and beliefs. That's what art is. To try and separate the artist from it is to take the meaning out of art. So, like, I have core philosophical problems with the very phrase separate the artist from the art, whether it's being used as a reason to, like, look, if you just enjoy a piece of art and if you are making the choice to not engage with who the artist was, that is your choice and your right to do so. I am against pushing the general notion that separating the artist from the art is somehow a purer way to view art. It's not. It's just not. It is a dilution of the very concept of art. And I kind of find it intellectually offensive as a blanket thing. On a case by case, if you want to take in a piece of work and you do not have the spoons or the inclination or just make the decision to not engage with the issues with the creator, that is your choice. You are free to do that. That is not a purer form of art. And anyone who says that's what everyone should be doing probably loves some stuff by some pretty messed up people and is opting to not deal with it. So, there we go. I think I kept that under 5 minutes. So, has a horror movie ever made you cry because of how scary it is? No, I've never cried from a horror movie. I've been shaken by horror movies. I've been messed up by horror movies. I've had bad nights because of horror movies. Invasion of the Body Snatchers gives me a bad night's sleep every single time. I love that movie, but I cannot watch it without having a bad night's sleep. Under the Skin messed me up and shook me. And I do consider I Saw the TV Glow to be a horror movie. That one broke me. But I wasn't crying out of like a traditional sense of I'm so scared. I was crying at the horrifying tragedy of that movie. But I did a whole video on that. So Coco's currently passing out of the bed, enjoying being home and close to the heater. That's a good place to be. Current favorite horror comic is Dan Abnett's Brink, running in 2000 AD right now. I forget that thing's still going. Sci-fi, suspense, cosmic horror, tension all rolled into one. It's a good combo. I started watching a 70s horror movie called Magic. Oh, the Anthony Hopkins one! The dummy movie! I've never seen it, but I am familiar. It's good so far, minus some of the dated aspects. Mental health portrayals. Well, yeah. Friday the 18th is my birthday. Well, happy early birthday then, Cameron. Beetlejuice is a disaster. Well, that's a tragedy. Like, the thing is, Vacuum, like, it is the kind of disaster that, like, so, how do I want to put this? Like, the theatrical cut of the Suicide Squad, not the Suicide Squad, just Suicide Squad, the David Ayer one. That's also a disaster, but that's a disaster in a way that I don't even want to talk about it or think about it. Beetlejuice is disaster in a way that comes from a unique attempt of a creator to try and a creator being facilitated to try and recapture an artist that they have not been for 30 years. And it is a mess, but it is a mess. Like, here's the thing. Most disasters that I see, like, I go, here's the studio interference, here's somebody with their head up their ass, here's whatever. The mess that is Beetlejuice is a uniquely Tim Burton mess. So, for whatever that's worth, let's see. Moving on. I watched the first 2 Terrifier films on Blu-ray the other day, and I'm going to see the new one on Thursday. I will not be watching those. I have no interest. I'll watch the Dead Meat channel kill counts on them. That's as close as I care to come to those movies. Do you like Junji Ito in general? I do. He's unnerving. And I also like that, like, I've seen interviews and whatnot with the guy. He seems really wholesome, which is wonderful. What do you think of death of the author type people who say not knowing what's actually happening in the movie is part of the point? Well, okay, somebody making that is making 2 different arguments. Because death of the author has nothing to do with whether or not knowing what's going on in something is the point. Those are 2 separate conversations. Death of the author, which I am a death of the author type, for the record, so I get pedantic about this when people misuse the phrase. The idea of death of the author is the author has no more authority to dictate the meaning of a story than the audience does. That's the idea. Now, I know that sounds in contradiction to what I said before about you can't separate the artist from the art, but that's me talking about the thought that initially went into it. But as I said, you do not have to choose to engage with it. And if you take a meaning out of a piece of art that is not what the author intended, and in fact, the author has gone on record and saying, this is what I meant, but you took something else out of it, they don't get to say what you took out of their art. Only you do. Their intent cannot be forced upon you. And only you get to decide how you engage with, partake, and process a piece of art. The author can have a desired way that you do that, but they can't dictate it. That's death of the author. Anyone who says that not knowing what's happening in a story is the point, that is a case-by-case basis. There are some stories in which not fully understanding everything that goes on can be said to be part of the point. Heck, that's kind of what's going on in Gothic, the movie I recommended at the end of the Shining review. Or something like Annihilation leaves a lot of questions open, but I love that movie. There is a difference between presenting a story with themes and character and core ideas that feel complete, even if the narrative doesn't make sense, and telling something that really feels like it's supposed to be a straightforward narrative, but it just doesn't make any goddamn sense. There is a difference. And it's just one of those things where people will take something that can apply in some cases and try and apply it to all things. It's like trying to approach approach criticism from a sense of like philosophical purity. We're like, well, if this applies in this case, it applies in all cases. No, it freaking doesn't. No, it does not. What's your view on The Wicker Man? Have you seen it? Do you like it? I'm talking the original, not the notorious remakes. My favorite horror movie ever. I liked The Wicker Man a lot. I don't know it. Like, I know it's categorized as a horror movie. I feel like it's for lack of anything else to call it. I'm not sure I categorize it as a horror movie. Maybe that's because I identify a hell of a lot more with the visitors than I do with the actual lead of the movie. So maybe that's why my perspective is skewed. But I like that movie a lot. That's a real good movie. Oh, The Shining specifically you were referring to. Okay. If we're talking The Shining specifically, if somebody tells you that not making sense is the point, then kindly explain that to me. Explain to me how not making sense is thematic and back that up. I'm not even going to bother trying to debunk that because I find that claim to be highly suspect without evidence. You don't just get to say, well, it's not supposed to make sense. Why? Why is it not? Because I can point to stuff, again, that I like where not everything is explained or certain stuff doesn't make logical sense. And I can tell you why that stuff doesn't matter. So if you're going to claim that it doesn't have to make sense, cool. Tell me why it doesn't have to make sense. You don't get to use that as an everything proof shield. What movie do you watch for Halloween? P.S. Friday is my birthday. Oh, you mentioned that. I responded to that already. I don't have a set thing like to watch on Halloween itself. I actually, during the month of October, I'm usually more focused on specials. Things like the Garfield Halloween, or Halloween is Grinch Night, or Witches Night Out. Great Pumpkin, obviously, and stuff like that. So that's usually more my focus, that I try and get in during the season, more than movies. Although I am trying to take in a decent amount of darker and scarier stuff this year if I can. I like reading King, but my critique is he can be needlessly gratuitous. I respond to his decisions with, that did not need to be as graphic as you made it. New Salem Lot had a couple of good kiddo actors, a couple of adult actors who I hadn't seen in a while, but it didn't have the slow burn and wide sprawl of the book. Yeah, I'd heard that response on the New Salem's Lot wasn't great. That is a bummer. Twilord, thank you very much for the super chat. Can I bribe you to watch the 14 minutes of Shadow Generation Dark Beginning prologue so you can randomly mention it to Channel Pop for fun? Okay. 14 minutes. Well, I'm not going to do it right now. Like, that's a whole Sonic thing, isn't it? Like, oh boy. So I'm trying to think if I want to charge you extra than the 5 you've already thrown in. Hang on. I'm trying to think. Hang on. Mental math I'm bad at, so I'm going to get a calculator to do some actual math. Okay. No, hold on. No. Yeah, okay. So working out the math for my normal, what I charge for commissioned reviews, it works out on average. Like, it's not a hard line, but for what the charge is meant to cover, it's usually about $2 a minute. So I don't know, throw me another 23 and sure, I'll hop right on that. Not during the stream, but still. I'm 50. At 9 years old, I saw a movie called The Boogans. Tentacle monsters from an abandoned mine crawl up to the town and grab people under their bed to eat them. Scare me so bad. Oh yeah, that would be terrifying as a kid. Also, like, I've been in too many dark corners of the internet. You say tentacle monster, my brain goes somewhere else altogether. My parents let me watch Final Destination when I was 8. Think that's too young? I don't know. I never thought Final Destination was scary, so I'm not a good judge of that. Coyote Azul! Thank you very much for the super chat. The good part about Brink is that all the possible explanations they've trotted out, 4 to 5 in story, are, as of the current volume, all equally possible, and you don't know which one is right. I do like stuff like that. Like, the reason I liked the first season of Lost, but never kept watching after that, was one of the things I really enjoyed about that first season of Lost was it could have been literally literally anything could have been the case. And I loved that, and I didn't want to watch those possibilities slowly get whittled down. Let's see. Are you saying that the feeling's gone and Tim Burton can't go on? It's tragedy. Oh, God. Like, MacArthur Park, why? Why? Actually, the needle drops in general in that movie were very weird. And that's kind of why I didn't just say, like, a creator trying to recapture. Because, like, Burton isn't credited on the script. And it needs to be remembered that Burton, while he does put his fingerprints all over the movie, he doesn't write scripts. So like the script writers that they got in were clearly just in certain ways, there's some things that were in Beetlejuice that felt like, well, the first movie had something kind of like this, so we got to do something kind of like that. Like, no, you don't. No, you don't. There's also way too many plots going on in that movie. I would literally forget whatever was the plot that it's been the longest since it circled back around. There's like 4 or 5 plot lines going on in that thing. And when it would cut back to whatever was the one that it's been the longest since we've seen, I would go like, oh yeah, that's happening too. Huh. Don't forget Discord questions. Oh, there's quite a few. Oh dear. Have you watched The Substance? It is not playing near me, so no, I have not. Shot in the Dark. Have you ever seen Mr. Burns, a post-apocalyptic play? What do you think of that? Have not seen it. Have not heard of it. Don't know what that is. I don't think that about The Shining. It's just an argument I've heard about the movie. No, fair enough. No worries, 255. Have you ever seen Buttons and Rusty, which is, no. Whatever that is, Ms. Wicked Wolf, I have not seen it. Discord, thank you for the reminder. Carolyn, let's hop over there. Whoa, that is more than usual. Okay, try and burn through these. Reminder, the Council of Geeks Discord is a Patreon exclusive perk. Only $2 a month to get access to the Discord. But anyway, in regards to the ending of The Shining, I always took Jack being in the photo as a sign that the hotel has dropped his spirit inside of it. Thoughts? Certainly viable. I feel like that is still very unclear given everything else that's going on there. And if that is what has happened, then like the MO of the house doesn't make the MO of the hotel doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Best villain song, any production. I don't know if it is actually the best villain song, but the one that is currently leaping to mind is Friends on the Other Side from Princess and the Frog. So I'm going to go with that. What spooky myth slash story slash legend do you know of that you think would be a good film? That's one of those questions that, like, it's targeted enough to be a really good and interesting question, but it's open-ended enough that, like, my brain gets choice paralysis, and I can't narrow down and drill in on it. I don't know. I'm sorry. That's the kind of thing that for me to come up with an answer for, I would have to think on it for like 5 minutes, and nobody wants to sit there and just watch me think. Good question. I'm a bad person to answer it. My mother said something I found to be a bit cringeworthy. I mentioned that I didn't like how my sister-in-law just assumed my 3-year-old niece would want to go as witches for Halloween. My mother responds, we bought them all sorts of jeans and stuff, but they prefer dresses. No one makes them wear them. It just goes to show boys and girls are different. Ugh. What do you think is a good response to a boomer family member who says something like that? I didn't respond because the only thing I could think of was a long-winded explanation of how socialization works. Honestly, 99 times out of 100, it's not worth the effort. Especially if you're ultimately doing it on behalf of, on the theoretical behalf of people who either aren't in the room or aren't asking you to. At a certain point, like, you have to just go, I don't have the time or the spoons to deal with this, and you need to just kind of, like, maybe at most go, disagree and change the topic. I had a thought today that I want to know if you agree with as an LGBTQ person because it's about the community that I'm not part of. A particularly gross aspect about bigotry against queer people that isn't present in, say, racism or sexism is they view that you are what you are is either sickness or a lie that needs to be beaten out of you. Like bigots hate women, POCs, but they at least acknowledge they exist. Well, part of the reason why there is the absolute denial from the extreme far ends of bigotry against queer people, part of the denial of our existence is a form of control, not just of us, but of each other, of the entire society. It says men are only this, women are only this. And those walls matter to people like that for a variety of reasons. Either they benefit from the walls, they have been indoctrinated into thinking the walls are what hold the world together. They are too scared to think of the world without those walls, but they put value in those walls. And I've said in the past that, like, and this isn't quite your question, but I've made the point before that In many ways, non-binary people are a larger threat to the gender status quo than trans men and trans women. Because at the very least, if you were assigned female at birth, transition to male, if you were assigned male at birth, transition to female, you are still moving along the binary. So while your existence is a threat, it still upholds the binary. If you break that entire binary that there's only two options, you are a bigger inherent threat. Again, because you break down those walls. What it just comes down to is if they acknowledge that queer people are real, then it is conceding the idea that there is more than one way to be a man, more than one way to be a woman, and that there are some people who are neither. And they will not concede that, and they will say whatever they need to be true in order to not concede that, which generally means denying our validity and pretending we don't exist. In Accession, that's a book I did a review of a while back. There's a minor character with abandonment issues because her mom chose to rejoin contact rather than raise her. Do you think it's realistic that even in a near utopian society like the culture, people would still develop psychological issues like that as they grow up? When I read that part, I thought, shouldn't someone have picked up on her issues and given her counsel, and maybe without constantly reading everyone's mind, which is taboo in the culture, it's impossible to catch everything. I mean, like, my general thing is, nobody's perfect. Everybody has damage. You can have a debate as to whether the same kind of hangups and abandonment issues and psychological trauma would exist in a society that different from our own. But there's gonna be something. Like, just as a parent, you don't worry about not screwing up your kids. You will screw up your kids. Like, you will. Just try your best to be there for them and help them after you've done that. Let me see. Sorry, hang on. There's something weird here. Oh. All right. What is the best film, in your opinion, that is set in or largely set in Vermont? Original Beetlejuice. I don't know if that's actually true, but that's in my head, oddly enough, and we'll just go with it. If Agrajag had discovered Twitter, would he have given up on his own cathedral of hate? Yes, I think Agrajag would have to admit that the global communal cathedral of hate that is Twitter has outdone anything he could possibly accomplish, and maybe he finally would have done something with his lives. That is a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference for those who aren't aware. They're here, or they mostly come at night, mostly. I prefer they're here, personally. Have you ranked the Doctor Who two-parters? If not, that'd be a good video. I have not. I may in future. No promise for when that might happen, but I will add it to the idea pile. Since you made it clear that you don't like The Shining, what is your favorite movie for the spooky season? Like I said, I'm mostly taking in new stuff this year, at least as far as movies go. I'm trying to think if there's anything I want to be sure that, like, I do a revisit on. No, not off the top of my head. This year, at least, I'm trying to mostly take in new stuff. And I don't know. I feel like I want to get to The Witches of Eastwick again this year. It's been a while since I've seen that one. Do you have any season traditions? If so, what are they? Standard one, family pumpkin carving and whatnot. Nothing particularly exciting or unique. With Peter Capaldi being recently announced to appear in the next season of Black Mirror, would you prefer to see him as a protagonist or a villain? I would like to see him as a mess. Most central Black Mirror characters are. Do you think it's possible for a problematic celebrity to do enough good work that it counteracts the harm they've caused? For example, Ricky Gervais has said some pretty vile things about trans folk. However, he also does a lot of good work for animal and cancer charities. I wonder how that balances out to you. Morality is not a ledger. Morality is not a balance sheet. I do not believe in transactional morality. I do not believe in balancing a book where, yeah, this person did these bad things, but they did all these good things. People do good things, people do bad things. Everyone will make their individual call on whether or not the good things are worth admiring and the bad things are worth condemning. Those, as far as I am concerned, are independent conversations. Am I ever going to say that his transphobia eliminates the good done with other stuff? No, he still did good. Does that good make me feel any better about his transphobia and his fat phobia and his general being an absolute twat of a human being? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. I don't care what good you're doing. That is between you and whoever cares about that, which is not me. I generally care more about the harm. That is not to say that the harm negates the good things. If you gave me another example, I might give a different answer because it's not. Again, I'm coming back to the thing. I don't believe in philosophical purity. I don't believe in everything must always be the same every time. It is case by case. But broadly speaking, on a conceptual level, I do not believe in transactional morality. I reject that framing. You have said you think it's unethical for someone to enter a relationship with a superior at work. What do you think about situations where someone forms a relationship with someone who is at the same rung of the ladder, but then one of them gets promoted and neither of them are in a position where they can resign or change jobs anytime soon? Well, in theory, if they're doing this ethically, the job should already be aware that they are in a relationship, and it would then fall on the people running that company to not place one of them in direct supervisory position over the other. Because let's be clear, there is a difference between dating someone who is on a higher rung of the ladder over you and dating someone who is your boss. There is a difference. It's not the same thing. If you are mid-level accounting, dating the head of marketing, a completely different department who answers to different people, can still get messy, but that's generally not what I'm talking about when I'm talking about unethical work relationships. I'm talking about dating someone in a direct line of power over you who has control over your future job prospects. That, if you have started dating and you're on the same rung, first of all, just you should be making your job aware that you are dating. Like, that's generally a thing you should be doing, and they should therefore not be placing one of you directly above the other in a superior subordinate role. At that point, assuming you have notified them, that's on the company. If you haven't notified them and it just happens, that's on you, and you got to figure that out, because that's not a good situation to be in. Favorite horror comic? Ugh, I haven't read that many. Favorite horror comic. I don't know. I like horror tinged stuff. Like, I like old Spawn comics, which have a horror flavor, but to call them horror is probably a bit of an overstatement and a little bit of an exaggeration. I don't know, 30 Days of Night, maybe. I don't know. I'm actually kind of mixed on that one, but that's all I've got at the moment. Uzumaki being the second screw-up making a Junji Ito to anime adaptation, is it possible his story shouldn't or can't be well adapted to a media outside the comics? Well, yeah, that's basically the video I made in the break room. One of the core things about Junji Ito is you are terrified to turn the page, but you have total control over how long that takes, and also you have total control over how long you linger on an image. Some of the power of Junji Ito's imagery is that you get locked into it, and it's really hard to pull your eyes away from. And the fact that it is your responsibility to stop looking at it, but also the dread that comes with not knowing if the next page is going to bring you something worse, that is a power unique to the printed page that cannot be replicated in a form like television or film, because a director and an editor have decided how long you look at the thing. So it's just and like, this is not the case with all horrific entertainment, but with Junji Ito specifically, the way that his art locks you in is something that speaks so strongly to the medium that he works in and doesn't really translate to anything else. Favorite mix-up with the horror genre, sci-fi, horror, etc. I do like a good sci-fi horror. I like horror comedy, but I'm real picky about horror comedy. I think a lot of people lower their standards drastically for what they accept as horror comedy, if I'm being honest. But yeah, honestly, sci-fi horror is probably my go-to, because science fiction settings and situations. Sorry, I dropped. There we go. Science fiction settings and situations definitely lend themselves towards horror, so they fit together well. I am now back in the main chat. Okay, we got super chats. Let's catch up on those. Purple Raider, your shining video helped me with my hangover. Glad to help, and I hope you are feeling better. Purple Raider, once again, when you rank the regeneration stories, will you count the giggle? I don't know. I will have to think about that. I don't know when I'm going to rank regeneration stories again. How long ago was the last time I did that? It's been a little while. Let's see here. Rank the regenerations. Oh, it's been almost 5 years. Huh. Sorry, I'm just checking something. Yeah. So it's been about 5 years since I did that. I suppose I could revisit. There's an argument to be made for including it, certainly. Whether or not I would, I don't know. I hadn't thought about it yet. Tara Staller, thank you very much for the super chat. I am a demi-woman, but I'm close enough to binary that it functionally has very little impact, and I generally use she, her pronouns, which means I get advantage on stealth checks involving my non-binary status. Advantage on stealth checks. I love that as a phrase. Yeah, and I remember before, being on hormones and having the developments that I've had, there is, comfort's the wrong word. There are some advantages to being able to go stealth, but I will say the last time I had to deliberately go stealth, because I don't pass as assigned female at birth, and I know that. For me, going stealth means going masculine, and last time I did that, I came to the conclusion I really don't want to have to do this again. And it's not that I have a problem inherently with ever presenting more masculine, but if I'm ever going to, I need it to be on my own terms, and the last time it happened, it felt imposed upon me, and I wasn't really okay, to be honest. Coyote Azul, thank you very much for the super chat. Junji Ito's art style reminds me of Edward Gorey's art. His work really screwed me up when I was little. Fair, very fair. Old Web Shooter. Do you have a favorite kids horror TV show, e.g. Goosebumps, Afraid of the Dark, Eerie, Indiana, or any other kids TV horror, maybe ones that actually scared you? I don't think anything like that actually scared me. I didn't watch too much stuff like that. Honestly, probably the closest I came to horror TV shows as a kid was The Real Ghostbusters, which every now and then would take its scary stuff pretty seriously. Not often, but sometimes. I was never actually scared of it, but What's worse, Ghostbusters 2016 or Ocean's 8? Ocean's 8 is good. Ocean's 8 is a good movie. Don't talk about them like those are the same thing. Mr. Grinch, I like you a lot better with my glasses off. You put your glasses back on and face the facts. What are your thoughts about the backlash over the new Joker movie? I don't have any, Robin, mostly because, two factors. One, I haven't seen it, so I can't assess the criticisms. And two, I don't know what a lot of those criticisms are. I know what the few reviewers who I trust have seen it have said about it, but I suspect that is not what the angry fandom is screaming about. But I don't want to look into what they're screaming about. So I unfortunately I lack the necessary information to assess the film and whether it deserves backlash, or to assess the backlash on its face, because I don't want to look into that much about what is even going on. I mean, I know the movie's tanking, which I won't lie, I find kind of funny. That thing was being projected to make so much money. That that movie's going to lose Warner Brothers anywhere from 120 to 200 million dollars. That's how much they're going to lose on the release of this thing. I do find that entertaining. 10 minutes. Yes, thank you, Carolyn. We do have a hard stop time on this one because I haven't had dinner yet, and I've got other stuff I've got to do tonight. Favorite children's horror, still one of my favorite shows. Courage the Cowardly Dog. Oh, solid pick. Sir Jedi. Yep, that definitely works. All right, have a good night, Jen. Thanks for stopping in. It's good to see you. Even if you don't know the reasons it'll never happen, do you agree David Tennant as Dumbledore is a very bad idea? Like, he's way too young. Yeah, no, he doesn't fit that part at all. Whoa! Okay. I don't know what the hell just happened there. I'm back, yes? Yes? Just so we're clear, I am back? Okay. Whew. Let's see. Coyote Azul back again. If someone gifted you the first 5 volumes of Brink, would you read them? The only thing I could say with confidence was that if someone gifted me the first 5 volumes of Brink, I would intend to read them. I still haven't watched all the movies that people have sent me, like to my P.O. box and whatnot. And those would take a lot less time. So, would I intend to read them? Absolutely. Would I? Eventually, probably. Do you have a theory on where Halloween is Grinch Night fits in the continuity? Oh, it's alternate timelines. It has to be, because Max leaves at the end of that special. And I don't buy that Max goes back to the Grinch in between, not for how the Grinch treats him in that special. So for me, it's alternate timelines. It's alternate takes. If you wanted to force it into a continuity, Halloween is Grinch Night has to come first. It does not make any sense the other way. Well, I suppose, okay. If you were going to claim that Halloween is Grinch Night comes after, then you would basically have to accept the premise that Christmas is the only day on which the Grinch is not a raging asshole. Which I don't think was the point of that story. The stream did not cut off. That's weird because my whole page failed and I had to reload it, which is odd. Playful pup pestering, price paid pending. Twilord, what are you doing? Hold on, just checking something. Wow. I don't know what opinion you expect me to have on a not even a Sonic the Hedgehog, like a Shadow the Hedgehog thing, Twilord. I don't know what you expect to get out of that, but okay. Maybe I'll give them when they finish the whole series at this point. Oh, fair enough. I'm sorry to report I've joined the dark side. I rewatched Hellbent. No longer think it's terrible. I now find it mid. That's fine. Find it mid. Hellbent just, I don't. Why? That's my thing with that story. I don't understand. I will flatly admit I don't understand some of the things it's doing. I accept that there's some things I just don't get. But beyond that, from what I think I understand about it, I don't understand why you would do what it's doing. And I really don't understand why you would do what it's doing in the way that it's doing it. The Max? How did the Max come up, Meg? Hang on. Oh, I love the Max. The Max, I actually like the TV series better than the comic. Comic's good too. But the TV series of the Max is one of my favorite pieces of television. I love the Max so much. Do you think the hate on New Simpsons is justified or just fashionable to hate on? I mean, at this point, it's kind of habit. But I also don't watch it, so I don't know. Hype, yes, I will do that in just a moment, Carolyn. You know what's funny about my mother? She said that about her granddaughters, but she's still sympathetic to trans people when what they go through is explained to her. Many conservative-leaning people are. Like, it has been documented over and over and over and over again. Many conservative people are absolutely amenable to what are considered more liberal or progressive ideas, as long as you explain it to them in language that doesn't trigger the buzzwords they've been told to hate. When you take it outside of the framework that the conservative discussion sphere has labeled on it and just talk about the core ideas separate from the buzzwords, most conservatives are on board with progressive ideas. Like, that has been noted and documented over and over and over again. Did you watch The People's Jokers? No, I have not seen it. Which Hans Conrad voice is better, the Grinch or Captain Hook? I think his Hook is a little better than his Grinch. His Grinch is real good, though. I think it's the closest thing we got to a legit Time Lord Victoria story. It's interesting how it got so bad that the Doctor's memory had to be wiped. But that being said, bringing back Gallifrey to only give it like 5 minutes of screen time is not good. Yeah. All right. So stuff coming up. Tomorrow I will be streaming on Twitch. I have been playing Witchwood lately, which is a fun little game. That and chatting. And the Twitch, like these streams, are currently politics free because I don't wanna. So if you want some more politics free chat, you can come on over. I stream from 10:30 to 12:30 Eastern time. And then what else is coming out? Friday, I'll be streaming again. There's some stuff coming out in the break room of Geeks. Tomorrow, I will have my review up for the 4th episode of The Penguin. That'll be up in the break room of Geeks tomorrow. Currently viewable on the Patreon and to YouTube members is this Saturday's video, which is my ranking of the Doctor Who season finales. And so if you want early access to that, Patreon or YouTube memberships both have access to that right now. And that is what's coming up this week. So thank you very much for joining me. I need to eat some dinner and I got other stuff to do. But thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you all take care of yourselves. Be well, be safe, be kind, and remember that you are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved. You're the council, and I'm just running the meetings. Until next time, this council is adjourned. McCavity!